Hi, good evening, morning, night, day, whatever time it is in your part of the world. Hope you're having a lovely weekend. Now, today I am going to reveal the sport that I have tried out that is a new one. Now, it's not brand new to me. I have done this before, but only very briefly. See if you can guess what it is. I am on the way to a mystery location to try out a new sport. Now, it's not brand new to me. I have done it only briefly, but not with a prosthetic leg. So today's goal is to find out if we can make it work with an artificial leg. As far as we know, there's only maybe a handful of people in New Zealand that do this sport that are disabled, and those handful of people, we're not actually sure what type of disability they are, so they may not all be amputees and probably aren't actually. So yeah, the person that I'm going to meet knows me but hasn't seen me for several years and had no idea this had happened to me, so this is going to be an interesting meeting. Have you guessed it yet? We're on the river. Yes, it's rowing. Now, I have done this as a direct result of an idea that a friend of mine, Christine, gave me after watching a video a couple of vlogs ago where I was saying I was looking for ideas that didn't keep reminding me about being disabled. Now, I have been a rower only very briefly for less than a year, about 7 years ago. So I decided it didn't matter. Plus, if something terrible was to happen, I can swim to the shore because I know I can swim. Anyway, that was why I decided to try it. I contacted my local rowing club and they have an adaptive squad, but they are intellectually disabled rather than physically disabled. So the coach decided to come down and try it out with me. Now, we needed to try it out on the indoor trainer first to see if it mechanically actually would work. Here's what it looked like. Yeah, the question is, do we just have a wee short stroke like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know any amputee rowers? So there are some restrictions with the rowing stroke having a prosthetic leg. I cannot get the full stroke from all the way front to all the way full reach because of the mechanical limitations. So after trying a few things, we decided we would lose the front end of the stroke. So I would keep using the socket that I'm walking on and we will extend the back of the stroke. It's not uncommon, apparently, to shorten the stroke if you're disabled in a rowing boat. But it is quite uncommon to be a disabled rower here in New Zealand. I have only found two, and they're not both amputees. I don't know what the second one's disability was, but one of them, it was a spinal cord injury. So it's really, 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 really uncommon. And in addition to that, the guy that runs the adaptive rowing squad in my local rowing club says he only knows of maybe one or two others in New Zealand at all. So we have no one to ask. We don't know how it's the best ways of doing it. So I decided I just had to give it a go. So yes, we tried a boat on the river. It is now Sunday, and as you can see, I have the peg leg approach today. What I'm going to do today is try a boat on the river. I'm taking a coach with me, and I spoke to the prosthetist and asked him about waterproofing for this foot. Now, the foot is waterproof to 1 meter in fresh water, but if I'm going to be standing in sand or gravel, then I need to be careful because that will get into the foot shell and mess with the mechanics. And I don't have a tool to get the foot shell off, and apparently it's really hard to get off. So my foot has got a bag on it taped to the post, and that is, like I say, not to keep the water out, to keep the stones out. Got a full change of clothes, and I'm going to take a GoPro chest mount to show you how it goes. Fingers crossed I don't fall out. Now, I was telling my physiotherapist about this, and he said, how are you going to get in? I said, I have no idea. And I still, until I was standing there, had absolutely no idea. Now, rowing boats are very long, they don't have a deep keel, and they're very narrow. Light, made of carbon fibre, but to carry something up here with two hands and walk down a slope, oh, that was more challenging than I thought. I did manage to help him get it down to the shore, but they got someone else to carry it back up again, which is probably just as well, because the slope upwards is more difficult because my foot doesn't bend as much that way. Anyway, getting in and getting out, how do we do that? With great difficulty. So the boat is down on the water level. It's like sitting down on the floor, but the floor is moving, and it was really hard. So he held the boat and I held onto his shoulder, and that's how I got in. Well, I fell in, really, because I can't control to sit down that low. And getting out, he said, how are you going to do this? I'm not really sure. It was the same thing in reverse. So I got my full, not amputated leg out, and then I used him for support to stand up. So yes, I'm not going to be leaping off into a single anytime soon, I don't think. It was quite tricky, but honestly, once I got in it, it was okay. The next thing I'm going to have to do is practice getting gumboots on and off, and actually buy some, because that's how they get to the boat and back again. They put gumboots on, but then you've got to be able to reach down and get your foot out of the gumboot and put it into the shoe, because the rowing boats have got shoes in them that you put your feet in. All these little challenges you never even thought of. This was so simple the last time I tried it. Anyway, I went out in the water, and it was actually a way better than I ever thought it would be. I just didn't have a clue what would happen. Neither did he. We thought, oh, we could be gone for 5 minutes, or we could be gone for an hour. Anyway, we did about 4K. We rowed down from Invercargill Rowing Club all the way down to the Powerboat Club, which is not far from the mouth of the Uretti River, and then back again. It was raining really hard. Raining, lots of raining. And I found that if I was to focus on the arms part more than the legs, I was better at it. But the oars were hitting me in the chest, and I couldn't get clear of them enough. So we're going to have to change the length of them and try again. So I'm going to give it another go on Wednesday. Like everything, like it has been with cycling and everything else, it's a multitude of minuscule adjustments before we actually find the best way that works for me and this leg. And like I said, there's nobody that does it really, so I can't even ask anyone. So I'm sure we'll figure it out. And as with everybody else, he's like, ooh, I like a bit of a challenge, and has been talking to the rowing club next door about it too. So I'm feeling quite excited. I used to really like rowing. It was really peaceful, really therapeutic, sort of almost like swimming. And I'm looking forward to giving this more of a go, because it should be interesting to see how I do. What's it doing? Okay. I'm feeling pretty damn pleased with that. Getting the boat down to the shore is tricky. Carrying it down a slope and up a slope. So I got it down to the shore, but somebody came along to help getting it back again. Going up is a lot harder because there's a lot less dorsiflexion in the prosthetic foot. I went out in a double, and it had floats on it so that we wouldn't capsize. And I was in the front seat, but it's not the front, it's the back. I'm the one that is looking out ahead, but the boats go backwards. So the person in the rear seat is actually the front seat, if that makes sense. And I went out with a coach and we discovered a few things that we need to perhaps change. So I can't row a full stroke because of the limits of the prosthetic, and we've opted for the losing the front end of the stroke and extending the back because the choice I had to make was ankle or knee. And so I've decided to keep the ankle and then go with a knee restriction. So I can't bend to reach right forward for the beginning of the pull stroke, but can reach back. We need to change the oar length because they were hitting into me and I couldn't get clear of them enough. But otherwise, it went pretty well. I haven't been in a boat for 7 years and I'm pretty damn pleased with how it went. No major dramas, didn't capsize or anything like that. It was just the getting in and out of the boat part that was hard. And I think that's just going to be practice. And I'm going to have to buy a set of gumboots. Then I won't need to put a bag on my foot. So we're going to try again next week. And he's going to change the length of something to see whether I can get more reach at the back of the stroke. So, yes, good start to Sunday. So, thank you to Invercargill Rowing Club and Dave for going out with me today. We didn't get wet. He said, oh, please don't capsize the boat and tip me in. It's like, well, I'm not planning to anytime soon. We did get very wet, but it wasn't my fault. It was the rain. So there we go. That's what I got up today. I'm hoping to get another go out next week and we'll see what happens with the oar length. Weirdest coincidence happened when I turned up at the rowing club on Sunday. Dave was already there and there was somebody in the rowing club rowing on a machine, and he said, oh, there's somebody in here that knows you. Who? And I didn't know who it was, and he said, go round to the front and see. And the guy on the rowing machine still didn't look very recognizable, and he was rowing and he said he went like this and then carried on. Turns out he was in the hospital at the same time. The time I had the amputation, that 2 weeks that I was in hospital, he was in hospital at the same time having surgery on his arm, hand, wrist. And we were talking to each other regularly because we were the only two youngish, not geriatric people in the ward, and we were both going stir crazy. I do remember him, but gosh, it was so long ago. I had no idea that he came from Invercargill or that he was a rower. So that was just a weird, really weird coincidence. His memory of me, oh, you are much more happy than I was. I said, was that before or after they chopped my leg off? And he said, after. Oh, well, there you go. Because I was out of pain, I had no pain anymore. That's why I was happy.